Alrighty. How's it going, Squirrely? You coming back tomorrow? Goodness, it's been a week. Very nice. Alrighty, let's get started on this fine evening. What did you have, influenza? Do you know? Alrighty. So we've got some 50-pound mono right here. And to that, I've just gone ahead and tied a little bit of deer hair. And I did that ahead of time. And now I'm gonna go ahead, just give this a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Oh, there's my bodkin replacement. You go on Saturday? Huh, that's crazy. Okay. Goodness. So now, got my extension here. We'll tie that in about right there. This is just a 50-pound mono, as I said. That looks pretty good. I'll just bring this in just a little hair. And obviously we don't need to tie this in super tight because this, has no actual structural value. A pike or a trout isn't gonna bite this and then, have to actually have the load be carried on this mono. This is just the extension. Go ahead and take my big old clippers, clip that off. And we'll start off on our first bucktail blending. So for this bucktail blending, we're gonna use some blue as one of our main colors. Some nice blue bucktail. And then we're also gonna blend in some white. In general, I go with white on most of my patterns. I blend in some amount of white, so we're gonna go with some blue, probably about half a clump or so. And then about a half clump of white. Ooh, this one is starting to get cooked. Might need to grab another bucktail. Yeah, and from this one, I'll grab about a half clump of that white, and then all I'm gonna do is just layer these on top of each other and then just start mixing them together. Yeah, I know, white is a great color for just about every species in this world. I'm gonna grab just a little bit more white just because I think it'll look a lot better. But yeah, so we'll do about half and half white and blue. I think black definitely is its times where it's good, but it's not always the best, Kind of depends on the situation in my experience. So yeah, I'm just blending this bucktail up, And you want to get it fairly well blended so that you don't have, super prominent streaks of white or blue. You'll notice big streaks of blue quite a bit, so you want to make sure to kind of blend them up a fair bit. And from there, I'll go ahead and just kind of flatten them, give them a couple more blends. There we have our initial straight tie, and I'm just going to place this into a hair stacker, butt ends first, and that'll help bring those butt ends all at the same level so that they're way easier to tie. We're not tying an elk hair caddis or something where we need to stack the tips. It's not quite where I want it. I'll do another stack. How's it going, Liam? How are we doing on this fine day? White and blue. Straight tie this in. I'm making another musky fly. Or not some musky fly, pike fly. I'm trying to stock up my box right now. I'll maybe after I'm done with this guy. These guys tend to go a little faster than the full-sized ones, so I'll tie some other flies after I'm done with this guy. But for right now, we're working on a. God dang it! Oh, I knew I should have gotten some thicker thread. This stuff is annoying. I've had this break on me way too much. It like doesn't stretch well. Like you don't know when it's gonna break. Like you can't really feel the stretch as good, even though it's not like it's gel spun or anything. God dang it. And it's not going through. What are you up to today, Liam? Are you tying any cool flies? Doing anything fun? There we go. All the way through. We will continue on. I break my thread a lot more than I'd like to admit, that's for sure. So, we've got our initial tie in place, just a simple straight tie. You don't need to do anything fancy for sure. I'll add just a little bit of white to the bottom here. You don't have to do this, but sometimes it is nice to add just a little bit of white just to kind of flesh out that bottom color. Very nice. A hollow body, like this kind of style, or like a synthetic hollow body, or what kind? Alrighty, now we're gonna do another blending. So we've got some white. How's it going, Fusion Duster? Goodness, this bucktail's breaking down on us already. So synthetic hollow tied would be like tied with like, this isn't completely synthetic, but like MFC scales and tails kind of style. And then fully bucktail would be like what I normally tie, which is basically 100% bucktail, but just with, there might be some flash in there, but well, it's basically completely bucktail. So we're doing about a half clump blue, and then we'll go in with about a half clump white once again. Keep that theme, and then we'll get bluer and bluer as we go up. Is probably going to be my plan. We'll see. I'm going to do my first hollow tie, and then I'm going to add in my my hackle and stuff. So, yep, just flatten this out, blending it all together. Very nice. Yeah. Have you tried one of these extensions? I don't know if you've seen me tie these. The extensions I tie it on 50-pound mono, but you don't need to go that heavy. You can go, probably down to, I don't know, I'd guess like 30. And you can probably tie even smaller. You'd probably have to tie it in hand to be a little bit of a pain, but you can probably do it pretty low. But definitely try that because it makes a much better tail. Pretty good, Traveler Flies. How are you doing? So we got a nice blend. And now I'm going to throw this into my stacker. So yeah, so all you do, I can show you after I'm done with this fly, but basically, if you're still around, but basically all you do is, there's a nice blended bucktail, by the way. All you do is you take a little bit of mono. I just have this old Zebco 50 pound, works like a charm. And you just take out probably like a 8-inch section. You warm it up in your hand and you stretch it so it's not super, so it doesn't spin all around and get all coily on you. Although it doesn't really matter if you don't. And from there, all you do is just tie in just a nice little clump, straight tie in, some white bucktail, or you can do different colors. I don't know, on this one I did like an orange color, so you can do, all sorts of stuff. But they're very fun. And then, yeah, you just like kind of tie it in, give it a little wet finish, super simple. And then on the bottom, I'm gonna go in with some white. As I've said in other streams, you really don't want to have a ton of white, otherwise the fly won't keel properly. Obviously, if you put a bunch of material on the bottom that's really, that's really buoyant, it's not going to keel properly. It'll flip over, which is really annoying. So we're going to go ahead and pinch down on this. And then I'm going to work my way forward just a hair, and this will allow every spot on this bucktail to have a little, every spot on this bucktail to be folded back in the same spot. Otherwise, if you have one piece that's, tied in here and one piece that's tied in here, when you fold it over, it'll look all nasty and gross. So if you, kind of just work your way up just a little bit, it'll help make sure that everything will be folded over in the exact same spot. And now I'm going to grab up my Zap-A-Gap, which is probably the slowest part of this entire process. And I'm just going to grab this, my Zap-A-Gap. Like the whole tip of my Zap-A-Gap had to be cut off, so it's really annoying. I need to get a new one pronto. But in the meantime, I've got to use this one. I live pretty far away from fly shops, so we got to make do. It's a problem with living in rural Midwest, I guess. So we've got that in place. I'll go ahead and just give this a few wraps. I'll give this just a second to dry up. I'll give it maybe a little tap just to kind of clear away any excess. And I'll grab whatever folding over device you want. I'm using just a spool of wire, or of just lead wire. Fold that over. And now I'll go ahead and just really fold these back. Do I duck hunt? I want to. I've never been duck hunting, if I don't believe. No, I do not duck hunt. I want to duck hunt, though. I'm just going to do a nice little triangular. Are you fly tying again today, Hayden? I'll just do a little triangle shape again, just to help that fly almost keel. If you do a little triangular shape where you keep a nice big flat top and then a little pinch down body, it'll really help that fly keel. Yeah, right now, what are you tying? And this initial one, I usually like to do a bullet tie. Sometimes people frown on bullet ties. I personally don't see bullet ties as a bad thing. When they're used too much, especially at the head of the fly, I don't think that they're always the greatest, but if you do them right, they're usually just fine. And they usually make a, much faster tie than tying them with like a, classic hollow tie. This guy's kind of slipping just a hair. Nightcrawler imitations. Great for trout. Great for panfish, things of that nature. And there we have the first part of our pike fly here. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab some hackle. For this, I'm going to be using some blue grizzly hackle. Yeah, that is so awesome that you guys in Florida are having that. We certainly do not. We got 18 inches of ice everywhere. My bobbin is very loose on this spool, so I gotta maintain thread tension just with my palm. I could probably just bend my bobbin, but that wouldn't be any fun, would it? Grab another piece. How's it going, Brazil? Ooh, I stripped that one a little bit too close. Dang it. That'll be fine. I'm gonna just unwrap both of these guys. $75 as a high is crazy. Actually, it's not that cold here either. It's like, I don't know, freezing. I think it's like 32 high, so, which isn't horrible for, you know, this time of year. Usually we're highs of 20 or below. But I do not speak Portuguese, I'm afraid. I took Spanish like 1 year when I was in like middle school, I think. If I remember, I honestly don't even remember that those years were a blur. But yeah, I don't speak Portuguese. I do speak a little French. I have what, an 1,800-day streak on Duolingo. Other than that, though, I'm gonna tie these in one at a time. Actually, I don't really know why I'm doing it this way like an idiot. Tie one in. Tie two in. Alrighty. Bring this back. Alrighty. There we have it. And now I'll go ahead and grab some more tail, and I'm just gonna increase the amount of blue I have in this just a hair. So I'm gonna go in with probably 2/3 blue, and I'm gonna blend this up with a little bit of white. There we go. And I'm just blending this bucktail up nicely. I'll blend this up for just a second. And we're just about there. Give it a couple more blends. There we have it. Hair stacker, butt ends. And that hair stacking just lets us tie this in a little bit better. Now I'll bring my thread up, and I'll give this a few securing wraps, being careful not to snap my thread, hopefully. God dang it. Problem with these Renzetti vices, screw constantly comes in. I really should just have a screwdriver and just, like, you know, manually tighten it, but I've never really thought about it, I guess, because it comes loose pretty consistently. Flip it over, white on the bottom, straight white as usual. Rarely do I ever use a color on the bottom besides white. And then I think on these, some of these last hair tie-ins, I'm going to use I think on these last ones, I'm going to use some black, probably. Tie these in, bring it forward. That just gives us a solid base for us to fold back on. Stroke out any short fibers. Use my wire spool to just fold this back really easy. Not using a musky fly, so there's not a lot of trouble with that. And now I'll make sure to just hold this for a second. My favorite fish to go for, my favorite fish to catch is probably, oh, it's hard to beat a brown trout or a brook trout. Pike are super fun. Smallmouth are super fun. Never caught a muskie. It's kind of crazy, actually. Never caught a muskie. Hooked them, had follows, never actually caught a muskie. This year I'm catching a muskie though. That's I'm determined to do that. But yeah, oh yeah, I'll do a hollow tie here. But yeah, favorite fish probably, I don't know. I love all fish. Probably either smallmouth, pike, or trout. I don't fish much saltwater. Largemouth are also super fun. I know you got lots of those in Florida, that's for sure. Largemouth are fun. They're just, you know, not as fun as the other species, but they're definitely very cool. I guess it's more rarity. The other species are more rare than largemouth, so I guess I take them for granted. Largemouth are like old reliable, you know. Alrighty, and I'm going to tie in my flash. I'm using purple flash. I use purple flash on the majority of my musky flies. I don't know why. I just like the way it looks. I think it adds a really cool kind of contrast. But yeah, I normally fold it in half, cut it off, and then half goes on top and half goes on bottom. Yeah, that's actually real, Hayden. That's actually so real. Yeah, I think it doesn't. I don't know how far smallmouth go in those mountains, but the Blue Ridge should have some smallmouth, shouldn't they? I would think so. Obviously, they have brook trout and brown trout and rainbows, I'm sure. There we go. Nice hollow tie there. And now we're going to tie in white bass, rock bass, and trout. Makes sense. Sure. Yeah, see you, Liam. This is a pretty all-around fly. You can scale it up or down. I've got little ones. Well, this isn't that little, but littler than normal. I've got big ones, and I've got, this one isn't blended, but really freaking big ones. So, yeah, you can really go with whatever size you want. These are all blended bucktail, which I think is really cool. This one isn't quite as predominantly blended because it's just blue and white, but all these guys are very clearly blended and very cool flies. For muskie, these ones are for muskie, big pike, things of that nature. These smaller ones are more for pike, smallmouth, brown trout, you know, obviously, you know, rainbow trout and things that eat that kind of stuff. Yeah. That usually works pretty good for largemouth. Very cool. Like is it like a bucktail style fly, like, you know, a hollow tide fly like this, or is it like some red sparkle and dark, or is it like a sparkle minnow, or what style is it? I'm gonna crash out over this bobbin. This bobbin is making the red slip all over. It's like slipping down every time I let it go for 10 seconds. There we go. And now I'm gonna blend in one of my last blends. I don't know. I'll probably only try to get one more. Or actually, I think normally I do 2 blends, but this is getting a little tight. I think I'm only gonna do 1, but I'll make it nice and thick. Mix it with a bucktail. Okay, sure, makes sense. So we'll do a little bit of white, mostly just to help kind of keep everything together. I feel like if you have some kind of natural bucktail in there, it tends to just make everything more concise. And then I'll go in with a fair bit of blue. Fair bit of blue, maybe a little bit more. And then I'm gonna grab some black bucktail, if I can find it. Where's my black bucktail? There it is. Black bucktail. Hayden, what's your favorite species to fish with? If you could only pick like one species, what species would it be? Got a nice thick blend here, and I'm just gonna blend all this together. I'm gonna start with just some basic fold in half and stack, and then I might have to go to the dubbing brush here with this big of a bunch. How's it going, Star? That's looking pretty blended. I'm just gonna grab my dubbing brush, kind of flatten it out here, and then there we have it, nice and blended. Oh goodness, I just dropped my hair stacker, the one thing I need for this. And then, yeah, we'll grab my hair stacker. Thank you so much, late to trends. You're not late to this trend. Sorry, that was a horrible joke. Josh, I mainly tie dry flies and nymphs. Dude, I love tying dry flies. They're so much fun. I just tied this one on the stream last night. I haven't put it in a box yet. Little hex style mayfly. Yeah, super fun to tie dry flies. But right now I am prepping for streamer season, which is why I'm and by the way, also I don't mean like actual streamer season. I don't believe there's a streamer. People like call streamer seasons. I don't believe in actual streamer seasons. I just mean open water fishing for big predator fish. That's what I mean. People call streamer seasons streamer. Where do you get your materials at? Bucktail, pretty much only get from Musky Fool. Do I have the actual? I usually like kind of get rid of the bags. I never really use them because like I usually just put them in a big old box. Musky Fool bucktail, best bucktail. If you want to get good bucktail, get it from Musky Fool. Best bucktail ever. So good, just such a good bucktail brand. They have a whole fly shop, so you can get pretty much everything there. But yeah, the rest of my stuff I usually just get from local fly shops. I always get whiting hackle because most other hackle I'm not a big fan of. Other than that though, like I'm not too particular on materials. It's really whatever comes my way. Whatever is on sale. So now I'll go ahead and just give this a nice wrap. Yes, sir, Josh. Also, shiner patterns. I don't know, familiar with a shiner, but shiner patterns work really well. Like a shiner, like the minnow, like emerald shiners. Because I certainly know what an emerald shiner is. Or golden shiners, or you know the like. Pulling out those loose ends. give it a nice wrap, and then I'll flip my work over, and we'll give this just a nice little bit of white bucktail, natural bucktail, whatever you call it. I call it white because, you know, it's white. Yeah, the bait fish. Okay, sure. Yeah, yeah, they for sure work really well. Use them for you know, salmon and stuff. You know, a lot of times it's nice to mimic like emerald shiners with clouser minnows or you know, white death style flies, and you know, the like. I'll go ahead and work forward so that, you know, all my bucktail is an even spot to fold over on. There we go. Oh, this is rotated a little bit. This like spun on me. Not enough thread tension, apparently. I've got plenty of thread tension. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it's not spinning, so when I was tying, it must have just spun on me. Alrighty. And from there, I'm going to give this just a hair of Zap-A-Gap. Just a little bit of Zap-A-Gap. I'll bring this back so you guys can see a little better. Oh, I love having broken nozzle. Just takes a little minute to flow out. There we go. Nice little bit of Zap-A-Gap. Throw that on my thread wraps. Let that just set for just a minute. I'll give this just a little tap. Never been dove hunting either, bro. Never been dove hunting. I don't know. I've never really heard of people dove hunting much around here. I've heard of a couple people doing it, but I don't think that's a big thing around my parts. I could be very wrong, but I don't think it is. Alrighty, now you're gonna grab your. Are you a big hunter, Hayden? I can tell you probably are. There we go. Bring that back for us. Now really make sure to. How's it going, Clouser? Well, from January till July is when I'm not fishing, so that's funny. Well, ice fishing, I guess. Very cool. What's your favorite thing to hunt for? Do you trap at all either? Just hunting. Oof, our bucktail's a mess today. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's just this new blue that I'm using is kind of weird, or what? It's mostly just the blue. There is a couple stragglers of white in there that are being kind of weird. Must not have stacked this very well. Well, pretty much finishing up this fly here. Ouch, hooked myself. Whitetail, dove, ducks, turkey, raccoons. You trap raccoons. Yeah, that's valid. If it fits in outdoors, you'll do it. Well, there we have it. I'm going to give this a quick whip finish here. Remind me, Hayden, have you been fly fishing for very long? I have a bad memory. So going Clouser. There we we go. I'll give this a nice little fold over. And now I'll hit this with some Zap-A-Gap. You started last June. My grandpa and his dad tied flies for big tournaments, and they did it, so I just kind of ran down in the family. That's fair enough. It's pretty cool. Cover that up with some Zap-A-Gap. And there we have it, guys. A nice pike, smallmouth, trout, potentially muskie. This is a pretty big fly, actually. Be a good springtime muskie fly pattern. Nice fly. We got any more? Do we have any requests for another fly to tie? Into the box she goes. Blue-winged olive, how's it going, Landon? You're trying to tie a baby rainbow trout? That's pretty cool. Yeah, let me know how that goes. That sounds cool. We can tie a blue-winged olive. Oh, although stupid YouTube doesn't let me zoom in, and I can't do really anything beyond a size, like, I don't know, like size 12. So I'll do what Josh says. I'll do an Adams dry fly, and you can mimic it. You can do it the exact same way, but just do a you can just do a a size 18, size 20 instead of a size 8 that I'm doing. I'll do a hex style dry fly. So if we're doing a hex style dry fly, I'm gonna start off with my favorite bobbin of all time. This is 10-aught thread, I believe. It might be 12-aught. I think it's 10-aught. 10-aught thread. And yeah, we'll do an Adams. We'll do a hex Adams. So it won't be a completely traditional Adams, but it will be a hex inspired Adams fly. Basically an Adams fly, but instead of using gray, we'll use yellow. So if you don't call it an Adams, that's fair, but basically an Adams, just with different color. So I'll start off with some Hackle fibers of yellow here. And then up here, so I actually don't do wings on my, you just learned on your show that Clouser is a type of, oh my God, Clouser. I actually didn't know that you didn't know that Clouser was a fly. I figured that was why your name was Clouser. That's awesome. Yeah, Clouser is a type of fly. I figured that's a interesting coincidence. Yes, Clouser is a type of fly. Probably top 5 flies of all time for me. One of my favorite flies. This is a Clouser right here, or a variation of a Clouser. This is a really poorly tied one. I tied this on a live stream and I hated it, but that's a Clouser for you. Okay, next I don't tie in a wing for my Adamses. I've never found them useful, and as somebody who likes to tie a lot of flies in a short amount of time in general, I do enjoy the process of tying winged flies, but I don't know, I don't find it worth it. And if I want to tie really complex flies, I'll tie a salmon fly or something. So I generally don't find a need. These are more utilitarian flies for me than yes, I 100% agree, Josh. They just break and they take a long time. So I enjoy tying them, but yeah, they're kind of finicky, they're annoying, so I don't tie them with a wingtip. We got a link and go fishing. Oh, heck yeah, dude. Yeah. If I ever go down to Florida. So, I'm tying in some yellow. This is technically, yeah, this is PMD Superfine, but it's basically just hex. It's basically just a color of hex. I like a good yellow dubbing. How's it going, Donnie? And now we'll grab some Hackle. Grizzly Hackle and brown Hackle. Start off with my Grizzly Hackle. Last time I started off with my brown Hackle was not happy. Always got to start off with the Grizzly. That looks pretty good to me. Pretty good to me. And I'll tie in. And I've stripped away this end a little bit more than the other end. That'll just help create a better base. Brown Hackle. Always measure before you pluck off. I don't see enough people doing that. I see them plucking off and then they measure and then they find out that it's not the right length and then they're sad and they have to, you know, place it on their desk precariously and then eventually gets blown off and they never notice it and they never tie with it again. So I always measure first. That one's too big, especially with, I don't know. I'm not very good at gauging hackle sizes. For the amount of dry flies that I tie, not very good at gauging sizes. Mostly because, I don't know, especially like with this saddle, it's just like really weird because the sizes are really finicky. I don't know. This hackle or this cape is really weird. It's really full. It's got a lot of feathers. And they lay pretty nice, but they're really weird. I don't know. Not a big fan of the actual like sizing and stuff of it. Kind of weird. But I'll grab my other feather. There we go. And just strip off this end, then the other end a little bit shorter. That'll just, again, allow that to sit a lot better. I'm going to tie this in right on top of that one. And now we'll do what every single person with a rotary vise dreams of, which is to half hitch this sucker. Bam. That was a bad half hitch. Landed like halfway in my spot where I'll be hackling. There we go. Put that in my cradle. Drop your Zap-A-Gap. And then start hackling. Ooh, not a great start, not gonna lie. Not a great start. I kind of had a poor start. We're gonna continue on anyway, though. Either, for these flies, for some reason, I either make them like perfect and they're like beautiful, or I make these horribly. There's never any in between. They're either perfect or horrible. This is looking like the horrible. It's not horrible, actually. It's not horrible. It's mid. It's in between. It's the in between I was talking about. It's pretty horrible. I don't love how split C these fibers are, but it'll be fine. And there we have a hex Adams fly. Technically not traditional because it's not tied with gray, but obviously colors that actually mimic a hex hatch will work a lot better. Oh, for sure. Tie some injured gizzard shad flies. That's a good idea. Gizzard shads are so weird. They get so big, it's kind of crazy. I don't. We don't have them really down here. Can you like catch them on a hook? Because don't they get like really big? I bet you could catch them on a hook. Because I know people catch like golden shiners and stuff. So you'd think you could catch gizzard shad somehow. Give that a wet finish. I generally don't like cement my flies very much, or my dry flies very much. Sometimes I do. It kind of depends what mood I'm in. But there you have it, Mr. Josh. We've got yourself a nice, well, nice is a strong word, a pretty decent Adams. Classic Adams. There we have it. Any more requests? We've got a nice little matching set here. I tied a Parachute Adams yesterday with this exact same hook and dubbing and basically the exact same setup, and then a thank you, Josh, and then a classic Adams. Me personally, I love Parachute Adams. They're so cool and they look just like mayflies, but there's just something about a classic Adams that's just so fun. I don't know what about it is fun, but I do like them. They're quite pretty, I guess. I think fishability, I think Parachute Adams have them beat, but they are super fun. Especially like a great little small stream fly. They're super fun. What fly should you tie next? You're in Florida, you tell me. You tell me you're in Florida. I'm going to have you tie my favorite bluegill fly for like bluegill flats or really shallow fishing, which is sounds like what you're doing, so it might be perfect. I'm going to use a larger hook than I normally do. Normally go about a size 12. I'll go size 8 today, just to make it a little bit easier. And key to fishing this fly, you're not going to put any floatant on this fly at all. No floatant at all. You're going to let it kind of sink, float, everything in between. It's almost an emerger. Start off with whatever thread you got lying around. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to stick with this olive. Olive is a very versatile color. White is probably the most versatile color, in my opinion, but olive is pretty close. Very good color. And now I'm going to grab some Hackle. Got this one from that Adams I just tied. That should be fine. Yep. Hayden, you better be following along. I'm just kidding. If you don't have any grizzly hackle, just tie it without the grizzly hackle, low key. Or just like put something else in. Bluegill are not that picky, but this is my favorite fly to tie for bluegill. And then I'm gonna grab, see if I have any. If I don't have any, I'll have to use something different. Okay, so you'll either dub some peacock, dub it. You can either use peacock eye or peacock, just normal peacock dubbing or dark peacock, whatever you have. Or you can use actual, W Hayden, you're following along. Or you can use peacock curl. Which one do you have lying around, Hayden? I'll just follow if you have either of these materials, or we can tie with something else if you don't have that. But yeah, we've got some peacock curl. That works very well. If you do go with peacock curl, usually I prefer to counter wrap this fly because if you don't counter wrap it, at least with some thread or something, they tend to kind of, I don't know, they fray out and they just aren't nearly as durable. You peacock curl, yeah, it tends to just kind of, I don't know, fray up, and it's not as good. So, I tie in butt ends first. A lot of people do tips and stuff. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I know a lot of the big tires tie with tips in first, and I understand why they do that. But for flies like this, I really don't think it matters. I only have like 3 fibers here. I'm gonna add a couple more. You can do anywhere from 2 to 6 fibers probably. I'm gonna add about 6 fibers probably. Yeah, honestly, like these are usually a little bit more matted, but as long as you get rid of a fair bit of that butt, they tend to be really good, and they're just way stronger in the end. They don't break nearly as easily when you're tying it, and especially like when you're fishing it. So very annoying. But anyway, grab this. If you have a fancy rotary vise, you can go ahead, like that little popcorn emoji closer. And I'm gonna go ahead and just give that a half hitch, and because I have a fancy rotary vise, I'm just gonna bring this up. If you don't have a fancy rotary vise, you can just obviously bring this up like a normal human being. Bring it all the way up. One more. And then from there, take this guy out of my bobbin cradle. Give that a wrap. there we have it, guys. Nice body. And now normally I'll just very carefully go up and down this fly. Yes, it makes it look worse if I was tying this for a show or something. I definitely would not do this. But when I'm tying this for myself, always do it pretty much. It just helps, you know, make the fly way more durable. Like, that's never coming undone, but if you don't do that, it'll come undone within a few bluegill. And for bluegill especially, bluegill are just a pain. If you're tying this for trout or something, you're tying this more in a smaller Griffith's gnat kind of size, you don't need to do that as much, because, you know, usually you're fishing this with dry fly. You're not catching quite as many quantity of fish, but when you're catching quantities of fish for bluegill, I think it definitely helps. And I'll just wrap this forward like a normal little Griffith's gnat. You don't have to do any super complicated wraps. We're not tying an Adams or even a fancy Griffith's gnat. We're just tying basically a modified bluegill bug. So yeah, we'll just bring that up. And yeah, fish this on a floating line. You could use an intermediate technically, but fish it on a floating line with no floating or anything, and just kind of let it do its thing. And it should work really good for you in on those flats. How's it going, typical fish? And yeah, from there, I'll just give this web finish. And yeah, if any of you guys want, please do consider subscribing. It very much helps me out. And yeah, I very much appreciate each and every subscriber. But I think I'm probably going to be hopping off pretty soon. Josh, how did that fly turn out? But yeah, if you like what I'm doing here, please do consider subscribing. And yeah, we'll probably see you in the next one.